here. We should be good to...
I'm Philomena, founder of Ken Apparel. I love my natural hair, but not with...
Gotta figure out what's going on with these cords, man.
To the stream.
All right.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Just Browsin. Yeah, we're ready to go live, so strap on in. You want to do the intro?
Yeah, sure. Just let me know. When.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Just Browsin podcast. I am your co-host, Zach, back again with Matt today. And we are here to follow up last week's 2024 movie recap with a 2025 movie anticipated release podcast today. So what we're going to be doing is going through a list of movies that are on the release schedule for the year 2025 that we are excited about. We did this same exercise around this time last year, probably I actually think we did it a little bit later. It was probably like in March last year. And we talked a lot on that podcast about how the release schedule for the year 2024 was a little bit light. It ended up being that a lot of the movies that we did see, even though there weren't a ton of them, we actually liked quite a bit. If you want to listen to our discussion of those movies, go check out the last episode we just posted, the 2024 recap episode. But yeah, we're here to talk about some anticipated releases for 2025. So we're kind of getting everything up and running today with all the new audio streaming and the YouTube stream and all that, because last episode was our first time kind of doing that. So again, bear with us if we experience random technical difficulties. But yeah. So we are back. We got a few ideas for our first few episodes of 2025, so we're excited to see where things go with the podcast this year and excited to be with you guys some more and talk about some more fun stuff. I think we want to do a couple of fun episodes coming up about like dragons being real and dinosaurs not being real and a bunch of fun, silly conspiracies like that. So that should 100%. That should be fun. But
we're also going to do a watch through of something. I mean, what are your plans for the Super Bowl?
I don't currently have any. I was talking to Ty about that the other day. We got to figure out what our plans are. Yeah, I don't know. We've talked about also doing a watch along for not necessarily like live sports, because we've done that before too, and I know we want to do that again, but like pick a movie and like maybe preferably like a silly movie that we could then make fun of and do like a watch along movie, and maybe even kind of like somehow get it out to the listeners and the viewers ahead of time of like what we're going to watch. And then, you know, if you want to join in on the live stream, we could be watching the movie and kind of making fun of it along the way, and you guys could follow along. That'd be kind of a fun idea too, I think.
Yeah. I was just wondering, because if like Ty was working on the Super Bowl and you didn't have any other plans and Caleb didn't have any plans, we could just do a Super Bowl watch through.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty big thing to sit down and commit to watching.
That's a long afternoon, long evening.
Yeah.
Because will the Super Bowl be probably like at 4:30 on that Sunday?
Well,
is the start time like at 4:30 probably? I feel like it usually is. I was talking with my coworkers today. We were talking about the upcoming AFC and NFC championship games.
4:30 on Sunday the 9th.
Okay. And we were talking about the Super Bowl, and we were talking about how the Monday following the Super Bowl should just be a national holiday. Like the amount of people that are hungover as fuck on that Monday following the Super Bowl and still have to go to work are like, God.
Or the amount of people that are just disappointed that the Chiefs are somehow
just
there.
Pissed off. No, I've been making this joke, and this is not going to be a football podcast for anyone who's
listening. I was going to say, we could pivot to movies real quick, because I'll go off.
But I have been making this joke quite a bit recently, but if the Chiefs three-peat, I legitimately might stop watching football.
Yeah.
I'll play fantasy next year, but I'm just not going to watch any games. I'm just going to be like, fuck
dude, it's like the worst Chiefs team I've ever seen, and they're somehow winning games.
They're in the AFC Championship game again. Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
Anyway, let's not get started down that rabbit hole, because that will be an entire episode in and of itself. So let's pivot back to movies. Pivot. So I kind of did the same thing that we did last year when we did this exercise, and I made a little note in my phone, and I kind of have it by release date. Now, I guess a disclaimer for this for anyone who's listening or who's watching the stream. This is not going to be an all-inclusive list of all of the movie releases for 2025, obviously, just like the disclaimer we gave for 2024. That was not, that episode was not going to cover every single 2024 movie release, just the ones that we saw. Same thing for this. It's just going to be the ones that we are looking forward to seeing. And granted, we were actually kind of just talking about this before we hit record, but not every... I mean, you could find a different list of 2025 release titles for the year based on different websites that you go to. So like, comingsoon.net and IMDb might have two different, lists.
Sounds like a
movies.
website that you shouldn't be visiting.
Actually, I used to be on comingsoon.net all the time. It's like a big movie.
Interesting. Is a superstar?
Movie news. What?
It's a joke.
I clearly missed it. What is that joke from?
Comingsoon.net. Just think about it.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
CUMM?
Yeah.
That's what you're thinking?
Yeah.
No, that's a different one that I have bookmarked.
Oh, there's your superstar on there, right?
It gets interesting because they're very similar names, and if I'm sharing my screen with anyone, that can get a little dicey. But coming soon,
that's why I have control of the computer.
Yeah. No, that's just like it's just like a movie website for people who want to read a bunch of news about, movie releases that are going on right now, stuff that's coming out, discussions about Oscar, like we're coming up on Oscar time. So Oscar noms just got announced. I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before. So that's obviously any movie website you go to. That's the latest buzz right now. But yeah, I don't know. That's one that I used to be on a lot more than I am now. I'm on IMDb a lot. But the point of that was that you, depending on what website you go to, you could find a different list. So this is not going to be an all-inclusive list. And again, these are just the ones that stuck out to me, that stuck out to Matt for movies that we are looking forward to. So I'm sure there's others that, if you're listening to this, you're like, hey, how did you not mention such and such a movie? It might just be something that we're like is not on our radar, that we're not looking forward to, or
we didn't see it.
There's also to this conversation, there's also movies every single year that aren't really on the release calendar. Not a lot of news is known about them, and then they just kind of drop. We were just talking about before we started recording how we're in this kind of weird age where sometimes you'll get a movie trailer for a movie like a year and a half in advance of the release of the movie, and then other movies you'll see a trailer for it a month before it comes out. So there's a lot of like weird stuff in terms of like who the production company is, who's distributing it, what the marketing strategy is, all that kind of stuff obviously dictates how far in advance you can find out about some of these movies, see trailers for it, all that good stuff. So anyway, with all of those things being said, I think we can probably just dive in. Is yours in order of release date, or did you just write a bunch of movies down?
I think I just wrote them down.
Okay.
I wasn't going to go through the trouble of trying to find the actual release date because I didn't really care.
Well, the only reason I wrote them down that way is because that was like the site that I looked up. It was like January through December 2025. Here's what's coming out. So I was just like, okay, this movie, and then here's the date it's coming out. So that's why mine are just in order of release from January to December.
I mean, I could try and decipher it, but I just kind of wrote them down as I came along them and saw that was something that I wanted to watch.
So since mine is organized by release date, do you want me to just start through mine, and then when we hit a movie that's on yours, we'll just
that's fine.
Talk about it then? Does that work? Because I was going to say, we could start with your list, but we're going to be bouncing around all over the map in terms of the release schedule. But anyway, with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive in. I'm not going to lie, the first movie on this list, the one that I compiled, I have actually already seen. So Taya and I just went and saw this the other day. This first movie is Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. Is this on your list?
I didn't put it on the list because I saw it wasn't getting very good ratings, and saw that it was already out. So I was like, it's kind of useless to talk about if it's already been out. Yeah.
I won't say...
I do like Den of Thieves, though.
Dude, the original Den of Thieves is a really good heist movie. Like, I think one of the most underrated heist movies of the last, I guess it'd be like 6 or 7 years at this point. I won't spoil anything about the sequel. I think I enjoyed it. Taya and I enjoyed it quite a bit. We rewatched the first one before going to see it just the other day. It's not as good as the first one, and it's way different than the first one, I would say. Like, I won't say much more than that because I want people to go check it out. But I think if you liked Den of Thieves 1, you'll enjoy the second one. It's got a lot of similar elements that you liked from the first one, but it is a different movie. So just know that going in.
That's probably why it's not doing so well in the reviews or the ratings.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. Again, not as good as the first one, but I think the first one is actually a pretty top-notch heist movie. So kind of tough to be compared to that. The next one up on my list with a January 17th release date, which that movie's actually already out now too, is a movie called Wolfman. Is this on your list at all?
Nope.
Have you seen the trailers for this?
Yeah, it's just weird.
Are you a big like werewolf guy? Do you like werewolves and vampires and shit like that?
I'm not like fascinated by them. Like I'm not drawn to them. Not scared about them, but I'm just not like, ooh, a vampire movie or ooh, a werewolf movie. I'm just kind of like, whatever. Like we already had Twilight that kind of ruined it all.
We kind of touched on this a little bit on the 2024 movie review podcast when I was talking about Nosferatu, because Nosferatu is obviously like a Dracula movie, essentially. I think our society in general for hundreds, if not thousands of years, has had a real obsession with vampires and werewolves, and we continue to this day. I mean, the Underworld franchise, stuff like that. There's countless Dracula iterations. Twilight. I mean, just last year, I think. Well, no, I guess 2023.
There's
there
no
was
vampires
Last Voyage
in
of the Demeter that
Harry
I really
Potter.
liked.
There's werewolves.
There's werewolves, but there's no.
But I don't think
vampires,
there's any vampires.
Yeah.
Random fact because I'm watching them still.
Yeah. So I mean, we're clearly still fascinated with vampires and werewolves, and I actually really enjoy vampire and werewolf related stories and content. It seems to be this Wolfman, this new one, is I don't know if it's in the same universe. Did you see The Invisible Man from just a couple years ago? It was like 2021. It's almost like they're kind of like rebooted, updated versions of like Universal's monster universe with like Frankenstein, Dracula, The Invisible Man, like all of those, like the Swamp Thing, like all of these different creatures that they kind of had in their like Universal Monsterverse canon. And they were going to start building that out with Tom Cruise's Mummy movie from a few years ago that ended up bombing, and they kind of scrapped the whole idea because they had cast Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in that movie, and they were planning on having like the Mummy and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and like the Invisible Man, and eventually bringing all of them together. They eventually bailed on that because the Mummy failed so catastrophically. But the Invisible Man, which I think was a 2021 release, was with Elizabeth, not Olsen, the chick from Mad Men, one of the main stars, and from The Handmaid's Tale. She's in it. That's actually a pretty good thriller movie, and it's kind of like a newer,
Isn't that the one where like her husband or boyfriend like terrorizes her?
He's like a
invisible
tech billionaire and like a genius, and he basically creates like an invisibility suit, essentially like a technologically advanced invisibility suit, and starts like terrorizing her. Essentially, he's very like psychologically manipulative. It was like a horrible relationship. She tried to flee and all this kind of stuff, and then he basically starts like haunting her essentially, and she's trying to convince everyone else that it's her boyfriend who's invisible, and they're like, okay lady, you're fucking crazy kind of thing. Yeah, it's actually a pretty good thriller movie. I think you would like it. I am not positive, but it seems like this Wolfman movie might be kind of in the same shared universe as The Invisible Man. If you've seen the trailers for the new Wolfman, you'll know that it has the main actress from Ozark, or one of the main actresses from Ozark. Have you ever watched Ozark?
Yeah, I just haven't fully dived into it. I've just seen like
really good show,
bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah. And I'm spacing right now on the actress's name, but she's fucking fantastic in Ozark. But anyway, she's the new lead in this, but this one looks pretty gnarly. It just came out like last week. I don't know what the early reviews are. I'm kind of wanting to go see it. I'm debating on whether or not to go catch it in theaters, but this is one that I'm definitely gonna watch, especially once it's on like VOD from home. I'm gonna check this one out. So anyway, Wolfman was the second one I had up on my list. Number 3, not sure if you're still in on the MCU or not, but number 3 on my list, coming out with a release date of February the 14th, Captain America: Brave New World. Is this on your list at all? So are you just like, are you out on the MCU or what?
I'm checked out on Marvel. Captain America, it's one of those things where it's just like...
Is it because you don't want a black Captain America because you're a racist?
Fully. just off the deep end on that side. No, it's just, I mean, imagine them recasting Iron Man. It's not gonna hit the same. Like I understand at the end of Avengers, he gives him the shield and he's kind of passing the torch.
Yeah, exactly.
But why? Like, you're not Captain America. Captain America was built for World War II with, I can't remember what they injected him with, but it's just like, I'm just over this whole like arc of, well, now we're done. I wouldn't say it's a recast, but is this really like, was this ever written in the comics?
I mean, I think it was. I'm not a comic expert by any means. I am actually very recently getting into comics.
Because
shout out to the Marvel Unlimited app on your phone. You can read unlimited Marvel comics on your phone for like $10 a month. It's pretty fucking cool.
Right. But so like think about it though, right? If that's not in the comics, then it's just a money grab.
I mean, I think pretty much everything they're doing in the movies has been done in the comics, at least at some point, because there's just such a long history of these comics and these characters and stuff. I see what you mean without getting into too much of a discussion about the MCU, because I think we could do episodes about the MCU and like their last 5 years and what they're going to look like in the next 10 years or so. What I have seen from the trailers for this looks very messy and convoluted, and it looks like there's a lot going on in this movie, but I am still kind of excited for it.
I mean, I'm sure it's going to be action-packed. It's going to be, but it's also one of those things I'm just like, I don't know. I'm like, I might watch it, but at the end of the day, I'm not like, ooh, I'm excited to see that. Like, I'm not going to, like, it's not like Wolverine and Deadpool where I was like, this is going to be something I have to go see. This is going to be something that it's like, oh, like, I'm not the biggest Captain America fan anyways.
Okay, that's fair.
And if I don't like the original Captain America, I'm not going to like the non-Captain America Captain America.
The non-Steve Rogers Captain America.
Right, the not real Captain America.
I was just about to bring up a couple points, and now I forgot what they were. Oh, we are, and I have brought this up on previous MCU discussions as well, but we are getting to the point, especially with the MCU this late in the game, where not only do you have 30 plus movies that have come before this, but you have all of the Marvel additional content on Disney Plus, all of the TV shows and everything. And I think at this point, to the layman fan, to like the casual fan, if you're not super invested in this and like really paying attention, it's getting to the point where it's almost a barrier to entry to watch Captain America Brave New World, because you're like, well, not only do I have to have seen the previous Captain America movies, but I have to have seen pretty much all of the previous Marvel movies, of which there are now over 30 of them. But I also have to have seen at least a few of the spin-off shows, namely Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where they do continue this story of passing the torch from Steve Rogers to Falcon to become the new Captain America. So it's like there's a lot of content and like homework you have to do almost to get caught up with this story. You have to have seen Eternals, because there's a storyline, it seems like, from the trailers where they're going to deal with the eternal hand that's coming out of the fucking ocean that happened in the movie Eternals. There's also Harrison Ford is now Red Hulk. How did that happen? Right. So it's like there's a lot going on, but I will say the reason it's on my list is I think this year...
Because you just can't let Marvel go.
Well, this year I think... Even me, for someone who's pretty into Marvel, I'm not like super into it, but I'm pretty into it. Even my interest has been waning quite a bit in the last few years post Endgame, just with their stumbles and stuff. Like they just have flooded the zone with content, and not all of it's been great. But I will say this: the reason this movie is on my list is because this is the first year in a while that I'm actually excited for new Marvel movies. With what I've seen from the trailers for Captain America and for Thunderbolts, and the fact that they're doing a Fantastic Four movie later this year, and like the cast that they've announced for that movie, I'm more excited for these movies than I have been for any of their releases in quite some time. That's the only reason this movie's on my list. So I can totally understand why you're just like, I'm checked out. Like, they just have flooded the zone. Same thing Disney has done with Star Wars. They've just flooded the zone with content. It's just I can't keep up with it. A lot of it's not very good. Whatever. I'm checked out. So I get that opinion. I understand it.
It's just like one of those things, right? Like, I don't know. I'm a big like, oh gee, let's not change things. Like the whole Harry Potter. They're like, oh, we're making a HBO show or Prime show, whatever.
I can't wait for our podcast once that show.
And
comes
I'm
out.
like, why? The movies are just the movies are still too fresh. 2, it's just like we don't need it. Like
they were on TV just the other day. I know you're doing a rewatch right now, but they were on Sci-Fi the other day because Sci-Fi they show them all the
Sci-Fi
time.
does it. Freeform does it during Christmas.
Yeah. They were on the other day, and I caught on like 2 separate days when we were cooking. I had just thrown the TV on, and I saw him. And I was like, "Oh, hey, look, Harry Potter!" And it was like both times. It was like end of Prisoner of Azkaban, middle of Goblet of Fire, somewhere in that range.
Such a good area.
Which Goblet of Fire is just fucking great. But I'm sitting there watching it, and I made mention to Taya, and I'm like, "Why are they doing the TV show again?"
Right.
I'm like, "They did it. Like they did the thing with the movies. The movies are great.
Right.
You adapted the story." And it's not like the show is going to be a different story that we haven't seen before. They're like, no, we're just doing the books again. It's like
it just might be more drawn
why?
out. We might see more than we didn't see in the movies.
It's like, okay,
but
why? Like,
right. So it's one of those things. Like, as a huge Harry Potter fan, am I going to watch the show? More than likely. But am I going to go in going the movies are better? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the movies did such a good job of just capturing your entertainment from 99 all the way until what? I think it was 2012.
Yeah, 2011, 2012, something like that.
When the Deathly Hallows Part 2 was dropped. And it's just like, there's no need. Like, if it was 40 years later and you want to remake it, by all means, go for it.
It's been plenty of time now.
Plenty of time, go for it. Or like I've seen people make the argument, they're like, well, with Star Wars, and I'm like, here's the difference between Star Wars and Harry Potter. Harry Potter was it was based off of books
that
they
were
completed
done.
the series. Star Wars was just George Lucas being creative.
Yeah.
And guess who did episodes 1, 2, and 3? George Lucas.
And when they came back and did more movies later, they weren't just redoing those same movies.
They built the story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they added to the story.
Right.
And then 8, 9, and 10 is just or 7, 8, 9 is just a dumpster fire. We don't have to get into that.
Yeah, you're very out on 7, 8, 9 too.
But it's just like, I'm not a big fan of like I said, I wouldn't call it a remake or recasting, but it kind of feels that way. Like I feel like Captain America's story should have ended. Like if we're not going to get any more Iron Man, because Iron Man can switch, it's just a suit.
Well,
it's not the man in the suit. It's literally just a suit. He's just a billionaire, right?
You bring up another interesting point, which is, again, not to turn this into an MCU conversation, because I would like to have more of those in the future. You bring up an interesting point because, after Endgame, we have Robert Downey Jr. retiring as Iron Man. You have Chris Evans retiring as Captain America. And guess what's been announced in the years since Endgame? Robert Downey Jr. is returning as Doctor Doom in a new Avengers movie. So he's coming back. He's not playing Iron Man, but he's coming back. And Chris Evans is also coming back in a future Avengers movie, I think in that Doomsday Avengers movie. So it's like both of them left.
Avengers coming.
They had this perfect send-off. Both of them left, and now here they come. They come back.
But they're coming in, and people are going to be like, oh, it's Iron Man, but it's not Iron Man. Or, oh, it's Captain America. It's not, though.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. It's like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm okay with them coming in and being like, hey, we're a villain if it's a different like time arc and like just like a different world within the Marvel, like, you have the X-Men, right? If it's in that world, I'm like, whatever. It's we know it's different worlds, more or less. Mm-hmm. But I'm just not a big fan of them being like, yeah, we're just it just feels like a recast, money reach. It might be great, and then I might, end up watching it, or everyone is going to be like, yeah, this was another blunder. And
my prediction for Captain America Brave New World is going to be that the audiences dig it, the critics are not going to like it, and the main complaint is going to be it's way too messy. I'm calling it right now, because I can just tell from the trailer they have so many different plots going on. Like, it's going to be largely like a spy thriller about Anthony Mackie's new Captain America, Falcon Captain America character, trying to identify who is betraying, Harrison Ford's president character's cabinet and everything, and like trying to assassinate him. You're going to have that whole thing. They also casted the guy who played Gus Fring in Breaking Bad to play one of the bad guys from this like secret organization that's trying to kill the president. You have whatever plot line's going on with however Thunderbolt Ross, the president, played by Harrison Ford, is now a Red Hulk. And you have the plot line of the dealing with the fallout and like the world, global foreign affairs politics conflict over what's going on with the events from Eternals, where there's this giant hand coming out of the ocean of this celestial being that's this storyline that they have just not addressed at all since Eternals. So it's like they're trying to do a lot with this movie, and it may work, it may not. I think the chief complaint, I think it's going to be an entertaining movie. I think the chief complaint is just people are going to be like, there's way too much going on.
I think they're going to make their money on it, and then they're not going to give a shit what anyone else cares or thinks about it. They're going to be like, whatever, we're going to make another one, and all of you pawns are still going to come and watch the movie.
Which, to be frank, is a lot of the same things we said about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Right.
There's a lot going on in that movie, and also simultaneously not a lot going on. And you leave that movie going, yeah, I was entertained. It was cool action. It was funny. They made some jokes, but I am not going to ever think about this again. Basically,
right.
like
I'm not sitting here going, make another one, make another one.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, all right, you guys did it.
Yeah,
it was entertaining, but so what?
So anyway, more to come on the MCU. There's 3 MCU releases this year. I do have all 3 of those on this list, so we'll get to them later. But we will have further discussions on the MCU later. Next up is, I'm guessing, a movie that you probably haven't heard of and that you don't have on your list. It comes out March 7th, and this is a movie called Mickey 17. Have you heard this or watched the trailer that they just dropped?
No, I don't think so.
This is a new Robert Pattinson movie, and it's directed by Bong Joon-ho, who is a South Korean director who made the movie Parasite, which won Best Picture a couple years ago, like in 2020, I think. It was a 2019 release. I have not seen his other movies, meaning Bong Joon-ho's movies, but I did watch Parasite after it won Best Picture, and it is fucking incredible. It's a fantastic movie, one of the best movies I've ever seen. So this Mickey 17 movie with Robert Pattinson, I'm very curious about. They have dropped a full-length trailer that you can watch on YouTube right now. Robert Pattinson basically plays, it's a futuristic sci-fi sort of action comedy where he plays someone who has signed up for a program where if you're called an expendable, or like I think it's an expendable. You can basically sign up to, like, mankind is exploring the stars and going and trying to colonize other planets, and they use these expendables to basically like throw them into the shitstorm and like basically test out like the environment of the world. And if they die, they just reprint a new body of that person. So your consciousness gets kind of like transferred from new body to new body to new body, and it's all you. It's like your body.
So you just never die.
They just reprint you a new body every time you die. So it's like he keeps dying over and over, and then the logic is supposed to be every time he dies, let's print him a new body so we can throw him out and go do more shit. There's a part in the trailer where he goes to like sit down in his bed, his little bunk on the spaceship or whatever, after he's died and had a new body reprinted out. And there's another him sitting in the bed. So it's like Robert Pattinson playing dual roles. Now there's 2 of them. They're trying to figure out how this happened, try and kind of fight back against the powers that be that are using him for this, human fodder and all this kind of stuff. It looks pretty interesting.
By the way, I had to scroll to just the United States releases for 2025, and this is movie 290 on the list.
Wow, so a lot of international.
I was trying to like scroll and try and figure out where we were.
Yeah.
No, this is just the United States releases so far this year. It's movie number 290.
Oh, and you're on IMDb.
Right.
Okay.
But this is probably like me and you could have made a movie and like have a certificate or whatever, and they're like, yeah, these guys are coming out with their movie.
Yeah. So anyway, that's Mickey 17. I highly encourage people to go check out the trailer for it. I think if you like sci-fi stuff, if you're a fan of what Robert Pattinson's been doing post-Twilight, which he's made a lot of really interesting choices and some cool movies, I think you'll dig this. And I highly recommend people go watch at least Parasite from Bong Joon-ho. That movie's fucking incredible, and I have heard his other movies are actually really good as well. I just haven't got a chance to check them out. So that's my little plug for Mickey 17. Next up is a March 14th release date. It's a movie called The Electric State. Have you watched the trailer for this? This is a Netflix original starring Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things and Chris Pratt. And it's based on, from what I can tell, I don't know if they're like graphic novels or what, or if they're considered comic books, but I guess some really popular graphic novel or comic book about kind of like a post-apocalyptic society living in the ruins of like a robot uprising war, but all of the robots are kind of like retro futuristic sort of 70s vibe to them. There's a trailer on YouTube that you can watch right now. It's a Netflix original coming out here in a couple months. So you can watch the trailer. It looks pretty interesting. From what I was reading, a lot of people are giant fans of the comic book, but they're a little bit. There's some trepidation going into this new movie. They think Netflix has kind of made it look a little too bland and kind of like, Netflix algorithm spit out a movie, and that's kind of what the result we got. So I hope it's not a bland, boring movie made for the masses. I hope there's like some real creativity behind it, but we'll see. It looks pretty intriguing. Yeah, I had never heard of that before, but apparently it's a huge popular comic book or graphic novel. This next one you might have heard of, and the next one on my list after this I know you've heard of because you texted us about it not that long ago. But the one coming up next is a March 28th release, and it's called A Working Man. Did you see the trailer for this the other day?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you and I were just talking about this the other day on the 2024.
We were talking about it with
the
Beekeeper. Yeah.
Because you had seen The Beekeeper, which I still haven't seen. I really want to watch it. And we were talking about this recent string of Jason Statham movies where he basically just plays like an ex-badass dude who's now living a normal life, working some stereotypical kind of like what you would call a boring normal job, and then he gets called into action when someone around him is kidnapped or threatened or whatever, and he has to turn into his ex-badass self. The most recent entry in this is going to be March 28th's A Working Man, where there's a trailer for this one too. You can check this one out. The encouraging thing here is same director returning from Beekeeper.
Dude, it's going to be
so
good.
David Ayer, who is also the director of Fury.
It's a Jason Statham movie where he just gets to go in and be a
everyone's
badass.
ass. It's fucking great. It's fucking
great. Throwing a Meg in this movie, dude? Over.
So we've talked about our love for Jason Statham, about how he's really good at doing what he does, and like I will never get sick of watching him in a movie being like, "What's the job?"
He has a
Tell me
special.
what the job
He
is.
has a special place in action movies.
It's so great. He's fucking fantastic.
There's a few people like if Sylvester Stallone makes an action movie, you're like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna watch it.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't care what it is.
I don't care
how
what
bad
it
it is. I'm just checking
explosives, dude, big buff dudes running
Yeah.
through killing people. Like,
Liam
I'm
Neeson
in.
was on a streak of like 15, 20 years of that, where he was just nothing but action movies every year since Taken. I mean, there's some guys that just pull that off. It just works. And Jason Statham is one of those guys. So like I said, David Ayer, the director of Fury, which is a fucking movie that I think is amazing. I'm a
one of
huge
the
fan of that
best
movie.
movies
Yeah.
out there.
He directed The Beekeeper with Jason Statham last year, and they are returning for A Working Man on March 28th. So definitely checking that one out. Another entry in the badass Jason Statham action man canon. This next one is the one I was referring to that I know you've heard of as well. This is an April 11th release, and it's called The Amateur. Is this on your list? If it's not on your list, it's an oversight by you because you sent us the trailer in the movie club group text.
It is right here.
Okay. So do you want to tell the folks what The Amateur seems to be about?
You can go for it.
Okay.
I'll just add my 2 cents.
So I saw this described the other day. I watched a little a YouTube video of some guys that are podcast hosts that I like that were reacting to the trailer, and they were talking about it. And they described it as like laptop wick, which I thought was a pretty great way to describe this. It's basically Rami Malek, the star of that show, Mr. Robot, that everyone loved, that I would love to check out at some point. And he also won an Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody. He basically plays like a CIA intelligence officer, but he's more of like
he's like the tech side of
the tech side of the CIA. So he designs all of their surveillance systems and is like the guy who runs their whole like
he's the guy in the
IT
van
branch.
listening to you.
He's the guy in the chair, to quote Peter Parker's friend from the Spider-Man movies. He's the guy in the chair. Basically, if you watch the trailer, what the story is going to be is his wife gets kidnapped and killed by some sort of terrorist group or whatever. The CIA pulls him in, shows him like video footage of it happening, and he's like, I want to find these guys and kill them. And they all kind of laugh at him. They're like, dude, you're a keyboard
You can
typer.
find them.
You can find them, but you're not going to kill these guys. And he's kind of like, fine, fuck you guys. I will prove to you that I can actually do this. And he basically uses his skill set as like a tech genius guy and using all these surveillance systems and everything to like track down who did this and then kill these guys.
Well, so my more understanding on it is he uses his understanding in his job to more or less the CIA trains him how to then kill them.
Yeah.
So he kind of like traps the CIA into training him to not only do his job, but to be the killer of the CIA. And then, he
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be so good.
It looks fucking awesome. I
It's
think it's
gonna
a
be so
it's a
good.
great role for Rami Malek because he does kind of have that vibe and that posture of like a small, more timid kind
Have
of.
you ever seen The Pacific?
Yes, I have. He's in that.
He's in
Yeah,
there
Yeah.
as Snafu.
Yeah, that's right. And
Terrifying role, by the way.
Yeah.
He's a terrifying character.
Yeah. But he has that demeanor of someone who like looks like they work at a keyboard all day and an office job or whatever, and wouldn't be able to like, break your teeth if they punched
wouldn't
you.
physically
Right,
do
wouldn't be able to
anything.
physically overpower you. But they've taken a nice twist on it where like he's using that to his advantage to then put people in situations. He's outthinking them and outmaneuvering them to where like it's not going to come down to a physical altercation. He's just going to blow you up from like a car bomb that you didn't know about or whatever. You know what I mean? So
he's doing all the dirty work without like doing the dirty work.
Yeah. So it looks pretty cool. I think back to back a working man and the amateur coming out like within a couple weeks of each other is pretty awesome.
Just action.
That's a pretty nice
action on action.
Yeah, 1-2 punch of action movies. So I'm pretty excited for that. This next one I am extremely excited about. I think for the first part of the year, this might be the movie that I'm like most excited for, and this is a movie called Sinners, and this releases on April 18th. Is this on your list?
No.
So I don't know if you've seen the trailer for this. Are you aware of this movie? It's basically Michael B. Jordan starring as dual roles. He plays brothers in the movie, and it's set.
Okay, I was reading about this, how they like go back.
It's like set during like the, I don't know, 20s or 30s in America in the South. So think like super racist, KKK, like that sort of era and that sort of setting. But it apparently involves vampires. Sounds fucking
I was going to
great.
say, I read it and they were like, they leave their troubled life behind, but then when
Yeah.
they get home and they're trying to, start fresh, they're like,
Yeah,
there's an even worse
they
trouble
find a
there.
more sinister thing at home or whatever. So the word on the street is that it's vampires. And it's Michael B. Jordan, dual roles, and directed by Ryan Coogler, who previously worked with Michael B. Jordan on Fruitvale Station and Creed and Black Panther.
Creed,
So I like
Creed's
that.
overrated.
I like that team up. I will stand for no Creed blasphemy on this podcast. Creed fucking
Creed
rules.
is ass.
Creed fucking
Creed
rules.
is just a remake of Rocky.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you on that point, but it fucking rips.
Why remake Rocky? It's the most
Creed
one of the
is
most
sick,
iconic
dude.
sports franchises.
I will
ever.
not hear anything negative
Creed's
to say on
ass.
this podcast about Creed. Okay, so Sinners, highly excited.
Imagine losing to Rocky Balboa. Creed sucks.
Coming up on April 25th, this is the next movie on my list, The Accountant 2.
Oh yeah.
Is that on your list? Yeah. Fuck yeah. Okay, so speaking of action, we got some great action here, like in the first 3 or 4 months of the year.
When The Accountant finished, I was like, they need to make another one of these because I'm like all in, and there's a lot of cliffhangers here that left a lot of room that we could like.
So the original Accountant, in my opinion, is like sneakily one of the best action movies of the last 10 years.
Yes.
And I think that movie is kind of underrated. It's basically, if anyone has not seen it and you're listening to this, Ben Affleck plays an autistic hitman, essentially, who like does money laundering for bad people.
Right. He's a really good accountant.
He's a really good accountant who's also like trained in the art of killing people by his like military dad back in the day.
Right.
And he's got a brother played by John Bernthal, who I'm also a huge fan of, who then grows up to become a hitman, and their paths converge in the movie in the course of the story. It's a really good action movie and a really well done movie. So they're both returning for the sequel. I'm very excited about. One thing I want to double check. You have IMDb up right now. Can you go to Accountant 2 and tell me who's listed as the director? I just want to make sure it's still his name's Gavin something. I wanted to say Newsom, but that's definitely not. That's the fucking governor of California. Gavin O'Connor, I think is his name. Is he?
Yeah, he's director.
Oh, great. Okay. So they got the director returning and the two main stars returning, which is always, those are promising signs. Because if it's a different director and like they only get one or two of the main cast coming back, that's usually like, I don't know how this is going to be. Sounds like the director's returning. They got Ben Affleck back. They got John Bernthal back. I'm very
It's going to be
excited.
good.
I'm very...
Soon we're going to find out Anna Kendrick's back.
Yeah. There's not been hardly anything released about this. There's a little promo image that just got dropped like today that I see IMDb is using. No trailers yet or anything like that. It's April, what did I say? 18th? No, 25th. April 25th, and there's not been a lot released about it, so kind of hard to judge what it looks like and what the storyline's going to be about, but
It's probably going to be good.
pretty fucking excited.
Yeah.
What is the IMDb tagline for it? What does it say?
Just like the very top.
No. The what's the little brief one sentence description of the plot that's right there into the title?
Right here?
Yeah.
Oh, it just says Christian Wolf applies his brilliant mind and illegal methods to construct the unsolved puzzle of a treasury chief's murder.
Okay. Interesting. So we're going to have the federal government involved too. The treasury, it sounds like.
Or it's just a company's treasury chief, something.
I feel like it's probably the treasury would be my guess. Probably more exciting.
Guess we'll find out.
He's not going to care unless it's the treasury. Anyway, Accountant 2. I'm there.
Yeah,
I'm
there.
seated opening day. So I'm excited. Okay, next up on my list is another Marvel movie, and this is Thunderbolts. This is a May 2nd release. So this is basically the second Marvel movie of the year. It's bringing together kind of like the anti-heroes of the current MCU onto a team together. So you have the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes is in this. The guy who took over for Captain America briefly in the show Falcon and Winter Soldier, I forget his name. He's played by Kurt Russell's son, Wyatt Russell, who's an actor I really like. And then Florence Pugh is obviously back again as Black Widow's sister.
Yelena Belova.
There you go. And then the villain from the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, the one who could phase through walls and shit, she's in it. Yelena's dad, who's the Russian Captain America, he was in the Black Widow movie. He's part of this team. So it's kind of as far as I can tell, there's a trailer for this one that you can go look at. It's been out for a few months now. There's some sort of mysterious government lady who is putting together this task force called the Thunderbolts for some purpose of her own, and they're kind of anti-heroes because all of these people are kind of bad, or at least were bad at one point, but are now sort of heroes, but not really heroes in the way you would think of Tony Stark or Steve Rogers. So this will be interesting. I'm curious to see what they do with it. It seems to be way more in the vein of an action comedy, because a lot of these characters,
This would be a lot more
chemistry seems
appealing
good.
to me than the Captain America remake.
Yeah, that's fair. And I feel like this one, you do have to know kind of where these characters come from, or at least know who they are. But I think you could probably come into Thunderbolts relatively blind and still enjoy yourself.
Right.
It seems like it's just kind of a team up movie, and they're all being killed, and they're gonna have to figure out who's trying to kill them.
Right.
It wouldn't. I don't think it's gonna be that hard to follow. But it probably would help to obviously know who Bucky Barnes is and who
Right.
Yelena is. It would be helpful to know all that going in, but if you don't know a lot of that, you could probably Google some stuff and find it out before you go into the movie. I know Julia Louis-Dreyfus is she's playing the mastermind behind the whole team, the one who's getting everyone together. So she's been kind of teased in a couple other properties. I think she was teased in Black Widow. They've teased her out in a couple of the shows. I think they teased her out in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So she's in the current MCU timeline, she's out there pulling strings. She's up to some shit. We don't know what she's up to, but she's going to get this group of enhanced people together, and for some sort of reason that we don't know yet. So Thunderbolts looks pretty interesting. Again, that is a May 2nd release. This next one up, I'm extremely excited about. This is on May 23rd, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Is this on your list at all?
No.
You're not a big Mission Impossible guy, right?
Nope.
Weird. You need to fix that, man. That's a hole in your game you need to fix. You need to work on that.
Nope. I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good.
Dude, I'm telling you, Mission Impossible is one of the best action franchises in the history of movies.
That's okay.
You don't want to see Tom Cruise doing crazy fucking stunts and saving the world?
Nope.
What are you, not a red-blooded American? What's wrong with you?
Nope.
Okay, fine. So this is presumably the last Mission Impossible movie that at least Tom Cruise is going to be in. I'm not going to say the last Mission Impossible movie ever, because that's not going to happen. They're going to keep making these, I'm sure. But this is the sequel to Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, which it also kind of bugs me that they changed the title of this one to The Final Reckoning and not Dead Reckoning Part 2. But no one asked my opinion on that.
It's because your opinion doesn't matter. this is Mission Impossible 612.
fucking rips. It's awesome, and I think that you should watch these movies. They're very good.
I mean, I haven't said I've never seen them. I'm just not like a diehard Mission Impossible fan.
Yeah, but like, when was the last? Like, what was the last one you watched? You probably watched
probably
one of
an
the early
old
ones.
one.
Yeah. I think from 3 on is where it's the sweet zone.
That's like saying from Fast and Furious 14 to Fast and Furious 26.
Yeah,
on.
but unlike Fast and Furious, Mission Impossible gets better. Fast and Furious is on a downward trajectory and has been for a long time. Mission Impossible is always on the upswing, bro. Mission Impossible rips. You need to watch these movies. Anyway, I'll quit harping you about it. This one might be on your list. This next one, June 6th, Ballerina.
Yeah.
From the world of John Wick.
I was gonna say, it's just a female John Wick from the fucking world of John Wick. I'm all in. I'm all in.
Ana de Armas, sign me up. And it looks like with a cameo from Keanu as John Wick in the movie.
Yeah, I'm
It
all
seems
in.
like there's a brief shot from the trailer. It seems like
It's almost like they're gonna tie it into probably John Wick. What is it?
I think
Chapter
it's
5.
3 that they're, because there's a shot of her.
Interesting.
She sees it. She sees John Wick from like her past in the trailer, walking down the stairs with the head lady from that school of ballerinas, and I think that's in
Right.
number 3 when he comes to her for help to like tear the ticket, remember, and like get over to Casablanca.
Right.
I think that's in the. Is that the third
It's
one? Or
the-
that is the third one.
It's
'Cause
the
then
third
he goes
one,
over
'cause-
there to meet Halle Berry.
Right. And because
Yeah.
then in 4, it's the whole fucking 98,000 staircase. Which we're all sitting there and we're like, that was my only pet
4
peeve
rips, dude.
of that
4
movie.
fucking rips. It's so
was
good.
that he would get to the top of the stairs of the 48 billion stairs that are somehow in a flat Paris and get kicked down them.
He gets all
the way back up top
He
and gets kicked down them again. And I'm like, there's no way they do it a third time. And then and he gets kicked down them again. And you're like, dude, like at some point, just learn how to stop rolling.
It's funny. Taya keeps like ironically / unironically telling me that she doesn't think John Wick 4 is very good. And I'm like, babe, you're going to really upset me if we keep doing this. So please stop talking about it. I can't have this conversation with you. But I think she will admit, like, if you get the straight truth out of her, she's like, John Wick 4 is good. It's just her main complaint was like every action scene was just way drawn out. It was just way too long. I think that works really well for the movie, but I think
that's
she
what a
was
John Wick is.
She was just like, okay, on minute 17 of this one action scene, can we move on? Like,
No.
I get it. He's
No.
killed 47 guys in this one
well,
house.
he's got to kill 50, so it takes 17 minutes to kill 50, all right?
Right. I think that movie's fucking incredible.
Dude, the best is when he's like, you arrogant ass. He never shot. And he's like, and he turns around and shoots him, and he's like, well, the other guy just, all right, and walks away. I'm like, the fuck? We're in the middle of Paris. These guys have been shooting each other for free. Like, no one's going to walk up on them.
That is one question I have about the John Wick universe. Are there just not cops in John Wick?
Or they're just
Out
notified.
of all of the fucking carnage that he unleashes upon
Well,
New
no,
York City
because-
and Casa, like, there's not a single cop ever, other than like the first one.
Right. Well, because
The guy that comes and knocks on his door, like, you all right, John? You still working? Other than that guy, like there's never any EMTs.
I'm back.
I'm thinking I'm back. Oh, God bless him.
I gotta assume that the cops are probably like, yeah, we're just, you
Maybe
guys
the-
do you.
Yeah, maybe the cops are just, they're aware of that assassin
Right.
underworld, and they're like, we'll just let you guys do your thing. We'll come
The
in and clean
assassins,
up afterwards.
you know,
Yeah.
when they get their orders, they just go by the PD and they're like,
Like, hey, by the way, this guy's going to be dead in a couple days. Don't look too hard to find who killed
yeah,
him.
we got him.
We got it. The contract went out.
And then
We
they
got
give
it.
him the gold
Yeah.
coin.
Slide a gold coin across the table. Yeah.
And the guy's like, what am I going to do with this?
What can I buy with this?
The guy's like, don't.
That's also another question. What can you buy with those gold coins? Because like a gold coin can buy you a drink, but also like get a body disposed of. So you're like,
Right.
what is this worth? I don't know.
So is it worth
It's like a bag of
$7.99?
Fritos, but also
Right.
like an extremely high end like body disposal
Right.
service. Like that
You got to
doesn't
think
seem
it's
like
worth a
those
lot because when he when he digs up his case and there's like 8 rows of coins, that's
Yeah.
it. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy's rich as shit.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, wait a second.
It kind of seems like with those coins, he could buy like anything he needs for the rest of his life.
Right.
It's essentially
Because
what
I'm pretty
they're
sure when he goes to the hotel, he just slides one across the.
making. Right. So that's what I mean. It's like one coin buys you a room for the night,
Right.
along with all of the services from the Continental, but also one gold coin buys you like a scotch at the bar.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Or is it like a tip? Like,
Yeah, I don't understand.
so then
this.
the waiter there, is he a trained assassin?
Yeah.
Or they're like, no, he just gets paid.
That's a
like
good thing.
he's-
Janitorial services at the Continental, are they assassins or are they just dudes who do janitorial service and they're just cool with assassins?
Probably just dudes that do janitorial services and
like the maintenance guys and housekeeping, all that.
I mean, think about it. You're safe.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, honey, someone's trying to kill me. I'm just going to go to work then.
yeah, I'll just go to work.
I'm just going to go to work. I can't be
Yeah.
killed at work.
Right.
Or if I am, they're excommunicado
Yeah.
and the whole world's fucking after him. So.
Yeah. Anyway, ballerina, very
Yes,
excited.
yes.
Also a huge fan of Ana de Armas. I just really like her as an actress, and she's smoking fucking hot too, which also is nice.
There it is.
I love me a smoking hot assassin. You know, it's better than not.
I love me a smoking hot ass.
Next up is a movie that I think had one of the best trailers ever made. This is June 20th release date, 28 years later. This is not on your list?
No, I'm not a big 28 days guy.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
it was all right, but it's just not.
So I really enjoyed the first one. I think I've seen the second one. I don't remember a lot about it. I may have only seen it like
Isn't it
one
what,
time,
28 days,
ago.
28 months, and
It's
28 years?
It's 28 days and 28 weeks are the first two that have come
28
out.
weeks.
This is now 28 years.
Right.
And something interesting I just learned the other day, supposedly this is the first of a planned trilogy of these.
28 centuries.
So
28 light years.
Right.
You're like, oh.
28 quadrillion years.
They're like, yeah, there's a new Earth in a completely different galaxy in a completely different part of the universe. And you're like, so why is
and
how
the
is
zombie
this related?
outbreak made it all the way over there.
An asteroid hit Earth and sent one zombie going, and he just landed, and it started.
So anyway, this is apparently the first in a planned trilogy of these, and the encouraging thing is Alex Garland and Danny Boyle, who are the writer and director of the first one, 28 Days Later, are coming back for this one, and I think for the other two in this planned trilogy. So I'm pretty excited about this. If you're listening to this podcast or watching this stream and you haven't seen the trailer, the first trailer that was released for 28 Years Later, go check that out. It's one of the best edited and most well done trailers of any movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And it is like edited in such a way that you're hearing the audio recording dramatization version of a poem by Rudyard Kipling about basically soldiers like in World War I believe it was, or maybe World War II, like marching. And the way it's like set to the beat and the pace of the movie trailer is astonishing. Like whoever made the trailer, hats off, because they're really
the
fucking
movie's as good as the trailer.
Yeah, if the movie lives up to the trailer, it's going to be one of the fucking greatest movies I've seen in a long time. So safe to say, I'm super excited about 28 Years Later. June 27th, F1. Have you heard about this? Seen any trailers? Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's the F1 racing movie, right?
With Brad Pitt.
I haven't watched or heard anything about it. When I was scrolling through, I saw it, and I kind of made a mental note on it. I'm assuming it'll probably be pretty fun to watch because a lot of racing movies actually are really fun to watch.
So, a couple things that I've heard, just to get you a little bit excited about it maybe.
Joseph Vampires Make a Return.
Joseph Kosinski, I believe is his name, director of Top Gun Maverick, is directing. Top Gun Maverick, fucking great movie.
Completely different world, though.
But great movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Fighter jets, F1 fucking cars. You're watching Brad Pitt in a cockpit.
Fighting Russians
going really
or
fast.
driving really fast around a track.
I'm just saying. And also, it's like reportedly one of, if not the most expensive movie budgets of all time.
You got to think. I mean, if they get
Apple,
actual F1 cars, it's gonna. Those cars are like $1.5 trillion.
It's an Apple production, and Apple just has
That's
all the money.
Could you imagine that being a heist? You like, we're gonna go rob an F1 car, and they're like,
all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go. We're gonna rob the F1 cars.
Who the fuck's gonna buy an F1 car? We're like, I don't know. That's a good point. As soon as we get it, what are we gonna do with it?
Who are you gonna sell it to? The same people that drive F1 that
just
know that their car was stolen?
Calling billionaires. By the way, I stole this car.
And they're like,
what is
yeah,
it? You're
I
like,
know.
"It's an
I owned
F1."
it.
You're like, oh,
You cunt.
what, do you want it back? They're like, yeah, we'll give you $1.5 million for it. It's like, that's all this is worth? They're like, yeah, that's all it's worth.
So anyway, Brad Pitt starring, Joseph Kosinski directing, one of the highest budgets in the history of movies, Apple production. I think it's gonna be pretty awesome. Just my little plug for it. F1 coming out June 27th.
You got a bad taste in movies.
Yeah, I have a terrible taste in movies. July the 2nd, Jurassic World Rebirth.
Yeah, just come on.
This is
Come
on your
on,
list,
guys.
I'm
No,
assuming?
no.
No?
No.
No?
Dude, Jurassic
You're
World.
not in on the dinosaurs?
Dude, they're fake. Dinosaurs are fake.
Well, we will revisit that here in the night.
Dinosaurs are fake. We'll prove it to
Here's
you.
the thing, man. I'm in on dinosaurs forever. Like they can make Jurassic Park movies and Jurassic World movies until I'm 90. I will see.
Right, because it's just a
literally all of them.
fictional movie. Someone just
Like,
being creative about what they.
I have
think
talked about
they
this
could
before
see.
when we've talked about movies like The Meg or Pacific Rim. It's like, look, you got a giant shark eating people. You got monsters punching giant robots in the face. You have
it's
dinosaurs
good entertainment.
stomping on people and eating people. I'm in. I'm a simple man.
I mean,
I like cool things.
Godzilla and Kong are more realistic than dinosaurs, so
They're both fun to watch. I like.
they
watching
might as
Kong
well just
punch
throw Godzilla popping out of the Hawaiian Islands
Fuck it,
too,
I'm in.
and then Kong dropping in from a heli.
I will watch it.
Could you imagine just a T-Rex, and all of a sudden you just see Godzilla pop in? With
I think
Kong,
a T-Rex is getting worked by.
and
either
everyone, the
Kong
T-Rex
or
just like
Godzilla.
looks around. He's like, "Yeah, I'm good, guys.
The T-Rex
I'm good."
should wisely fuck off in that situation.
Yeah, he would just like look around. He's like,
Like, this is a little bit out of my weight class, boys. I'm gonna let you duke it out.
I'm gonna go lay down in the trees. If you guys want to just act like you didn't see me.
Anyway, it's Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali are in this new movie. Gareth Edwards is the director. He directed Rogue One and The Creator. I don't know. Those are some promising things. I like him as a director. I like Scarlett Johansson. I like Mahershala Ali. I like dinosaurs. I'm going to be watching Jurassic
You
World.
just like a
Rebirth.
lot of fake things.
I mean, Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and Gareth
Scarlett
Edwards
Johansson's
are not fake.
pretty fake.
They're not fake. They're real people.
There's a lot of fakeness in the real people.
Next up, July 11th, Superman.
It's not a big Superman. I've never been a Superman.
Well,
guy.
this is I knew this. about you.
I've never been a Superman guy.
You're not a DC Comics or a Superman guy. The only thing I will say is I like what I saw from the trailer. It's James Gunn. It's directed by him, written by him. He's the new boss of the new DCU.
Which is interesting.
It's very interesting. He's the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. This is his movie that he's directing, and it's going to be like the first one in his new DC universe. So for those reasons alone, I'm intrigued. I liked what I saw from the trailer.
I mean, I might
looks
watch
cool.
it, but I'm just like, I have never watched the only full DC movie I've ever watched was actually at your parents' house when we watched Batman vs Superman. And I was like, this is the most ridiculous bullshit I have ever watched. You literally have a immortal superhuman who has one weakness against a billionaire. This dude can shoot fucking lasers out of his eye. This guy can't stop the lasers coming out of his eye. How do we have a fucking 14-hour-long movie of them two fighting?
I mean, I enjoyed it. They're not the best
It was
movies
awful.
ever.
That was an awful experience. I sat there and I was just like, it got done. I was like, thank God.
Okay.
Holy shit.
Matt, not a DC. What are you a fan of? You don't like Jurassic Park anymore. You don't like MCU. You don't like Star Wars anymore. You don't like
It's not
DC.
that I don't like Star
What
Wars.
do you
I don't
want?
like the new Star Wars. I want new content. Bring me something new.
Okay.
Don't bring me something that's been reskinned or revisited 14,000 fucking times. I don't want something that's already been here. Give me
Fair.
something new. Give me something that's like original, that I'm not sitting here going, oh, this Superman from 2007 was actually the best, or this Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire's the real Spider-Man. Give me something new. I understand a lot of you want to make a lot of money on all these names, and you got to keep, writing some of these stories. Give me something new.
That's
I
fair.
don't
That's
need
a fair point.
Superman
We are in-
14,912. It's 2025. If you can't be fucking creative, Hollywood, then just fuck off. Like, we don't need Hollywood.
Well, we are in the age
We
of
have the Just Browsing
nostalgia.
podcast, and we're live streaming now, so we're going to make hour-and-a-half long videos every time. Boom.
So we're going to replace Hollywood, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Original content.
Original content. All right. I like your enthusiasm. I get what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
I'm just
We
not
are
a big
in
fan
the-
of all the
we're in
remakes.
We're in the nostalgia era where it's all sequels, remakes, reboots, prequels to stuff that's already established IP. That's just where we're at in
But
Hollywood. And
think of our parents, right?
A lot of the movies on this list are those types of movies.
Right, but like think of our parents, or even maybe their parents, because they came out in the 70s, and our parents might have not been the most movie intrigued. They had Star Wars. That shit was groundbreaking. I kind of think that like our groundbreaking movie might be Avatar.
Yeah,
that was a
probably.
groundbreaking movie that had nothing done like it before. And you're like, that I want to watch. It did really well because it's a groundbreaking. We've never seen it before. But now they're like, hey, Captain America 14,812. It's like,
well, your point there exactly. I mean, I have a lot of time in my movie fandom for intellectual property franchises like Jurassic World and Star Wars and Harry Potter and Game of Thrones. I love all of these properties. So I watch a lot of these sequels, reboots, spin-off TV shows. I watch a lot of this shit, but there's a reason why like my top 3 favorite directors are my top 3 favorite directors, because they make original movies.
Right. And
Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, and Martin Scorsese make pretty much original content or adaptions from novels. So those are adaptions. That's not original, but it's still
like, original content if it's
like,
the first movie being made.
It's not like, oh, hey, here's a Star Wars movie by Quentin Tarantino. It's like, no. Whatever you're going to see from Quentin
Tarantino. That might
be
pretty fucking lit, though.
He was going to make a Star Trek movie once upon a time. I don't know how that would have been. But
Star Trek 14,000.
Whatever you're going to see from Quentin Tarantino or Christopher Nolan is going to be written and directed by them based on an original idea from them, for the most part. With the exception of Oppenheimer, every single movie that Christopher Nolan has made is from an idea from him or his brother.
Oppenheimer is one of those like prime examples.
Brand new ideas that are not, and that's why I like those guys so much, is because Christopher Nolan has carved out this really interesting lane where he makes gigantic, high-budget blockbuster movies that appeal to mass audiences that are original ideas, which is very rare in Hollywood.
But you got to think about like how well that all does, and like the audience.
He's carved out a huge audience.
Then again, there's I play Call of Duty, right? And it's a very well-known game. It's arguably the largest gaming franchise out there. It's just riddled with cheaters. Like, it's just awful. Like, it's the same thing. They're producing the same. It's Madden. They produce the same shit every year.
Same thing, yeah.
Yet we all still buy it. Mm-hmm. And everyone like bitches, and as soon as you buy, you're like, oh, this game sucks. And it's like, it comes to the point where we got to just quit going to movies that we don't think are good. We got to quit buying shit that we don't believe in. And it's like, not that I'm saying Superman's going to be a bad movie, but I mean, I might watch it, but I'm not. I'm like, I've seen how many Superman movies already in my life, and this is a new one, and it's a new adaptation of Superman. So it's just like, I could care less. Now, if they were like, it's a completely, not a superhero movie necessarily, but just a completely different realm, I'd be like, okay, this is intriguing to me, but it's not. Like,
I'm just intrigued. So I definitely have a much greater affinity to the MCU sort of characters and those movies for sure. But I do like Batman and Superman from the DC universe. And I think what intrigues me for this is mainly James Gunn, the James Gunn-ness of it.
Right.
Because the Guardians movies are so well done, and he's got such a unique directing style and a vision and a writing style that I think his version of Superman is going to be unlike anything we've seen before in a Superman iteration thus far.
Right. And it's not necessarily, like, yes, I think he's a great director, but like the Batman's, right? There's 3 movies that I'll watch for Batman, and I'll forever watch the Batman trilogy. Everything else after that, I'm like, you didn't need to make Batman. Like,
so wait, have you seen The Batman with Robert Pattinson?
No.
Dude, it's fucking good.
Yeah, but is it The Dark Knight good?
It's not The Dark Knight, but you can't
compare
The Dark
Knight Rises
to The Dark Knight.
Like, but The Dark Knight is Batman.
Are you just never going to watch a Batman movie ever again?
Maybe. I mean, I'll watch the Dark Knight trilogy. I'll watch those 3.
That's what I mean. Outside of that, are you ever going to watch any other Batman content?
I mean, is anything ever going to be close to it? No.
I think the Batman gets close. I think the Batman is a legitimately fantastic movie.
You think that would be close to, if not better than,
the
Dark Knight?
It goes Dark Knight, The Batman. Those are the 2 best Batman movies
That's
I've
steep.
ever seen.
I mean, I'm not saying that Batman Begins is a great movie. Obviously, that's the lowest tiered one. But Dark Knight, I mean, is on a whole different level than any other
I agree. But the
DC
Batman
type movie.
I'm just saying the Batman is worth your time. It's really good.
Well, maybe I'll check it out.
It's
but,
really, really good.
But it's one of those things that, again, why do I need to... I grew up with the Dark Knight trilogy. That's the shit we watched. I don't need to jump to another. I can just keep watching that and get my Batman content.
Well, you've clearly established that by all you do is rewatch fucking Band of Brothers and Harry Potter over and over and Lord of the Rings over and over.
Because think about those,
Expand
though,
your
right?
horizons a little bit. At least give stuff a
But think
shot,
about what I
think.
watch, and then think about like being original. There's nothing like Harry Potter out there. Although everyone makes the jokes that Harry Potter is just wizarding world of Star Wars.
That little video I sent you, that comedian breaking
I've
down,
seen
was actually pretty
multiple,
funny.
and I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it, haha.
But that's a lot of fantasy and
Right.
sci-fi stories, yeah.
Star Wars, groundbreaking. Besides the last 3 movies, they're ass. Harry Potter, groundbreaking. Lord of the Rings, arguably the greatest trilogy ever made. Like, those are all things that it's like, there's nothing like that out there. So that's why I gravitate towards it, because I could watch a movie and then like watch another movie and I'm like, wait a second, did I just watch the same movie back to back? And it's like, no, they just remade the movie you watched last year. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, because it did good in theaters. Like 2 of the movies on my list, and I don't know if you have them. Have you ever watched the How to Train Your Dragons?
Yes. They're great.
They're making a live...
I know.
And I'm kind of
me
like...
and Taya have talked about it.
I put it on here with a question mark because those movies are so good. Why do we have to make a live
The animated
remake?
movies are legitimately
The animated
fantastic.
movies are some of the best movies out there.
Yeah.
Why are we making a live remake? Like, why? Like, I seriously want to know. And they're going to be like, well, for the money. I'm going to be like, there's no reason.
It's only for the
There's
money.
literally
There's
you
no
might
other
as well
reason to
make
do
a
it.
live remake of Despicable Me.
They might do that.
Like, well, yeah, now it's just spoken into existence.
I think they're
and it's
making
gonna
a
ruin
live
Despicable Me.
action adaptation of Moana.
They're,
Did you know
well,
that?
yeah, with The Rock. But they're also making a live action Lilo and Stitch.
Yep, I knew about that.
So I
too,
have
yeah.
both of them on my list, and it's just like I have question marks because Lilo and Stitch, the original one, was so like
I think to our generation,
astronomically
Lilo and
good
Stitch is a big property.
that I was just like, that's amazing. And now, what is it? 25 years later, they're like, hey, here's a live action remake. And you're like, why?
I just, in general, I'm sure we've talked about this on the podcast before, but I think for me in general, I'm just kind of out on these live action adaptation of animated movies. I don't really get it, other than the money. You know, like I've seen a couple of them, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, they're fine.
Like The Lion King.
And also, it's kind of weird to be calling them quote unquote live action because they're still not live action because they're still animated CGI characters in
so
the movies.
you're telling me you got a one-eyed alien
right
named Stitch?
Well, and like this new How to Train Your Dragon, there's going to be real actors. Gerard Butler's returning to play the king that he voiced in the movies, but he's going to be physically there on set playing the king, but also the dragons are all going to be animated. So I'm like, it's not really live action. It's kind of this weird like Planet of the Apes type thing where like there's real people, but they're interacting with like either CGI characters or motion capture characters or whatever.
Right.
So it's like, we had the animated version of this, and it worked really well. I don't really understand what the point of just.
So
being
that goes back to like my
hey,
point.
It's the same
of,
story. It just looks different. Like okay,
that goes
cool.
back to my point of the whole like being creative. That's not creative that you made a live action.
Yeah.
Like I saw like there's Snow White I think coming out this year in a live action remake.
Well, we just had Mufasa, which is still in theaters.
Right, and it's just like, guys. I mean, at least Mufasa is a little bit different
because it's like a prequel story,
right?
or
Like,
whatever,
but again, a live action, and it's just like. You guys really can't come up with anything, so you're just gonna remake shit with live. You're gonna spend money to remake something just with better graphics. Is like next we're gonna get a Bug's Life remake,
live action,
right?
Well, I mean, on the list, I was kind of talking to Taya about this the other day, but I was like, to your point about you keep ranting about wanting like more original ideas, and this is like, by the way, not a complaint that you alone have. This is like a very common complaint amongst the movie fan community.
But then people like me will still go
just,
see a movie and
yeah. I mean, that's the problem is like there are some sequels that are really good, and there's like franchises that I follow. But like look at this. Of the list that I put together of anticipated 2025 movies, let me just read you off the number of the ones that are either sequels or reboots or prequels or spin-offs, some sort of franchise IP out of this entire list. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 out of like the 20 something I have on here. Less than 25. 16 of those are sequels, prequels, spin-offs, reimaginings, reboots, whatever you want to call them. I mean, that is the era that we're in Hollywood. I mean, it is like that's all you get nowadays. Well, it's because the financials of it, movie studios are nervous to give anyone other than really Christopher Nolan $200 million to make a movie unless it's tied to some pre-existing franchise.
It's tied to a money bag.
Yeah, that are used to, and it is a proven money-making commodity.
Right, and I mean, we see that with like Horizon.
Yeah.
You know, I'm ready for...
Chief concern of yours was, or chief complaint of yours is like, give us more original content. You get Kevin Costner putting his own personal fortune into making an original Western, part one of a 4-part story. No one went and saw it.
Yeah. But
no one went and saw it.
When you, like, I liked it.
Other than us.
It was long, and like, were there certain things that were like, come on, you could have gotten rid of this? Yes, but at the end of the day,
I'd like
still
to see that.
It's still
I'd rather you try that and it not work necessarily than be like, here's the 17th Marvel movie in the last 3 years.
Because I wouldn't say Horizon failed and being like, wow, that was awful. I don't want to see any of the other 3. I sat there and I was like, I want to watch the next ones because you started to like hook me 2.5 hours in.
Yeah.
It just took you 2.5 hours to hook me.
Yeah.
But now I'm interested, but people didn't perceive it that way, or people were like, I'm not watching a 3-hour-long movie. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, but it's original. It's a Western movie. And I understand that there's unlimited ideas, but I understand there's not necessarily unlimited ideas. There's some movie out there, you know, regarding what you might want to make. There's millions of Western movies, right? But there's different stories in all of them. And it's just, I don't know. I'm just kind of over the whole like Hollywood, you know. I would be 100% if Hollywood died and was like rebooted with like a new generation of writers and actors, and just like get rid of the old, like let's bring some new creativity into the world. And
well, that's why I would say
also, is this light flickering in your eyes too?
It is,
because it is the most annoying thing ever.
To your point, I would just say this to you or to anyone out there who has the same sort of frustration with the current model of Hollywood. When there are original movies by exciting and creative writers and directors that come out, go see them in theaters. Because when these movies make money, it'll give incentive to the studios to give people like that other chances to make more original ideas and cool movies in the future. If no one goes to see these things in theaters, it's just not, they're not going to, there's no incentive to then give people like that money to make those things again. Instead, they're going to be like, make Jurassic World number 12. You know? Like, that's what you're going to get, because that's the only movies that anyone goes to watch.
And that's where it's just like, I don't know. That's where I'm like, I'll just keep watching the same shit over and over again because I'm not going to be disappointed by watching it. Like,
that's fair.
It's a comfortability zone. Like, you're not going to sit there and be like, I just wasted 3 hours of my life watching that. And you could be like, I just wasted 3 hours of my life watching Lord of the Rings again.
Yeah.
Not bummed
Not
at all.
upset.
Not upset at all.
Well, I mean, trust me, I have my collection of my favorite movies at home, and I'm like, I am not going to be mad if I went home tonight and rewatched Dune Part 2. It's going to be a thoroughly enjoyed 3 hours.
You're going to sit down and be like, I've seen this 14 times, and I'm ready for 15.
Every time. Okay, so the last one I just talked about was Superman. The next one up is a July 25th release. This is the Fantastic Four First Steps, is what it's called. So, very intrigued by this only because I think the Fantastic Four and whatever the MCU decides to do with the X-Men is the future of the MCU. If the Fantastic Four doesn't work, and whenever they start to bring in the X-Men, if that doesn't work, they're in real trouble. Because I would agree with that. The interest level right now is already waning. I mean, I think Deadpool and Wolverine is not so much indicative of people's renewed interest. I think that's more of a one-off anomaly.
Right. This is the Deadpool fans, the Wolverine fans coming together.
Yeah, that was a flash in the pan. I think Marvel needs to really like watch it where they're going. And this is the first movie, or this is the first year in a couple of years now where we're having like more than just 1 or 2 releases. There's going to be 3 Marvel movies this year. They've said that they're going to slow down on the content and try and make sure that the content that they're putting out is better. We'll see if they actually stick with that. But the Fantastic Four, no trailer or anything released yet. The cast looks great. I'm a huge Pedro Pascal fan. I like Vanessa Kirby. I'm excited to see what they do with it. It could the one thing that this has going against it is that the Fantastic Four has been tried to be done as a movie franchise twice now, and it's failed both times. Like the original iterations of the Fantastic Four, neither one of them have worked.
Right.
So it clearly is a property that is really popular with the comics fans, and it's done well in a comic. Hasn't necessarily translated over into the movie sense. So we'll see how that looks in the MCU, and then we'll see what they do with the X-Men eventually. I don't know.
First two times, you can't strike out if you only have two strikes. Might as well go for the third.
True. So we'll see how this goes. I'm excited. I'm very intrigued. That could go either way. I think if Fantastic Four comes out and the critics don't like it and the audience doesn't like it, the MCU is in real trouble. Because if you can't bring... This is like the new
dude,
team.
you've already said 14 you're ready to go see this year.
And they're going to be part of like the new Avengers who are going to fight Doom, supposedly. If no one fucks with the Fantastic Four, well, then what's the excitement for the new Avengers movies? You know what I mean? Like
Iron Man's back. He's just not Iron Man.
Really struggling. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. So, the next one coming up is releasing on my birthday, August 15th, and this is Nobody 2. Did you watch the first Nobody?
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Dude, one of the best parts is when he walks into the bar and the guy and he goes, "Yes, sir," and he scurries out.
He sees that tattoo that he's got.
The Ace of Spades, I think it is.
Yeah.
And he just runs away, and I'm like, "Oh shit, this is good." Yeah.
So, this is the original Nobody came out. I want to say I can't remember what year it was. Maybe 2021, 2022, something like that.
It's pretty recent.
Pretty recently. This is the sequel to that. It's the Bob Odenkirk starring action vehicle, which is sort of a John Wick-esque movie. Bob Odenkirk, probably most known to everybody for playing Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad and then Better Call Saul. Great actor. Really like him in both of those shows. I thought he did a really good job being a convincing action guy in Nobody. And I'm really looking forward to this sequel. I think Nobody was pleasantly surprisingly good action movie.
I'm ready for this one.
Pretty excited about this. This will be my birthday movie this year. When I saw this on the calendar around my birthday, I was like, fuck yeah. I always look around the time of my birthday because I always like going to the movies on my birthday, and I'm like, if there's nothing that has come out like right before my birthday or nothing releasing on my birthday that I'm super jazzed about, I'm a little bit bummed because I'm like, well, what am I going to go see? But when there's something like this where I'm like, Nobody 2, I definitely want to watch it. It's coming out on my birthday. I'm fucking there. Let's go. So Nobody 2, pretty excited about that. These next two I know are not on your list because they're horror movies.
Then no.
August 29th, Thread, an Insidious Tale. So I'm assuming this is an Insidious movie franchise spinoff movie. I have no idea what this is about. I know zero details. I saw Insidious and I just threw it on the list because I like the Insidious movies. One movie that the most recent one that they did, which I believe was maybe 2023. I don't think it was last year. I think it was 2023. Taya and I just watched that this last October, and it was the first Insidious movie I had seen since the first two. I believe there are now 5 Insidious movies. I thought it was pretty good. It's not as good as the first two. I thought it was pretty scary. The story was not quite as good. I like the Insidious movies, though. I think the Insidious movies are some of the best horror movies that we've gotten, like one of the best horror franchises that we've gotten. So I'm pretty excited about that. This next one kind of goes in conjunction with that. September the 5th, The Conjuring: Last Rites. So another Conjuring movie. I'm assuming the last quote unquote Conjuring movie. Who knows? That's kind of my same disclaimer about Mission Impossible. It's supposedly the last one, but they'll probably make 5 more. The Conjuring movies are pretty gnarly, and I really like these. So I guess this will be the 4th one in the main Conjuring series. Obviously, The Conjuring has the Annabelle spinoffs, the Nun spinoffs. I mean, there's a lot of like spinoff movies in that franchise.
Right.
This will be the latest one, the 4th one in the main Conjuring franchise. Again, I know zero details about this one. The 3rd one, which I believe was called The Devil Made Me Do It, I did not think was that great. I didn't think it was nearly on par with the first two, which I think are some of the scariest / best horror movies of the last 20 years. But I am always in for a new Conjuring movie, especially around spooky season. So I will be checking that out. October 24th, Mortal Kombat 2. Did you see the Mortal Kombat reimagining movie that they released? It was like a during 2021, when Warner Brothers, during all the lockdowns,
I've seen a little bit of it, but
they decided to do this day and date release thing for all of their movies in 2021, where they just dropped on HBO Max, like on Max, where you could just watch them when they released in theaters. That's how I saw the first Mortal Kombat. And I thought it was fucking awesome, actually. I really enjoyed it.
It's just an action. I mean, it's nonstop action.
Right. And it's like really kind of like bloody and gory and violent. I was like, okay.
Have you ever played the Mortal Kombat games?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really bloody.
Long time ago. And I have seen the OG Mortal Kombat movies from like, I don't even know when those came out. Maybe late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. Or maybe in that era. And I enjoyed those. Sam and I would watch those when we were kids, and we were like super into it. You know, the dude with fucking 4 arms who would fight.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a really bizarre world, but it's like, hey man, like you just take like an action video game of like a bunch of weird characters from different like dimensions fighting each other and make that a movie. I'm cool.
Why not?
That sounds awesome. Sure. Why not? So I thought the first one from 2021 actually worked pretty well. So I'll definitely be watching Mortal Kombat 2. November the 7th, Predator Badlands. Now, this is a new movie from Dan Trachtenberg, who also is the guy who made Prey, which was the Predator sort of spin-off movie from 2022, maybe? I can't remember exactly which year that came out, but very recently, that I thought was like legitimately one of the best movies in the Predator franchise. I thought it was fucking awesome. It was basically like a Predator in like the 17 or 1800s fighting a Native American tribe, essentially. Really fucking cool. Did you ever watch Prey?
I didn't watch it, but I saw the highlights. I saw the previews and just never.
It's on Hulu if you want to check it out. It was like a direct to Hulu drop. I thought it was really good. And Dan Trachtenberg did that movie, and he also did 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I think is my favorite Cloverfield movie. He's just got like he's really good at directing like really intense, suspenseful action stories. So I'm really excited to see. Supposedly, I think it's him who has actually worked on not only this Predator Badlands movie, but another top secret Predator movie, like at the same time. So he's got like 2 new Predator movies that he's doing that are coming out, probably one this year, and I would guess another one next year. So we'll see what that one looks like too. You had mentioned this earlier before we started recording and earlier during this discussion, but December the 19th, Avatar, Fire and Ash. What did you think of Avatar, The Way of Water?
I mean, the only thing you have to compare it, like if it was its own movie and you didn't have the first Avatar, you're like, this movie's sick. Like, this is a great movie.
Agreed.
It's just so hard because the first movie's so like, I don't know if we were talking already when we were live or if we were talking before, but Avatar's just so groundbreaking. We were talking when we were live. It's such a groundbreaking movie across so many different like parts of, movies. Like the first one with its kind of CGI and like the story is an original story. Like it was just so groundbreaking that it's hard to get the next movie. What was it? 10 years after the first one dropped?
Yeah, I think Avatar, the first one came out in 2008, and then the second one came out in 2022.
Okay, so 14 years later. And
time.
Though, because when they dropped the first one, he's like, we're still filming 2. So they've been filming 3 that whole time as well.
Yep.
And you're just like, how are you going to top... Like, the movie in 2008, you're just like, holy shit. How did they make this movie?
Yeah.
I thought the second one was great. I enjoyed it. It shows you a different aspect of, the world. So I mean, I liked Avatar. I like Avatar. Yeah. It wasn't anything like, oh my gosh, I was close to the first one, but it was like,
I agree.
It was definitely good enough that I'm like, you still have my attention. Like
I completely
I'm still following the story. I'm still invested in the story. You didn't lose me with like some really crazy shit. So I'm still all in. Now we'll see. I don't know if this is going to wrap up the Avatar story, or is this going to be one of those things where it's like, here's the third out of 15?
What I have heard is he has 5 planned. So he's got like a writer's room, sort of like how they have for TV shows.
So in the 5th one,
for years now, they have been writing these storylines. I guess he like divided up the writing responsibilities of each movie sequel to one or two writers, and they have been in concert, like all at the same time, writing the scripts to the sequels, and then he's filming everything in the intervening years. So obviously, to film 2 and make 2, edit it, all that stuff took between 2008 to 2022.
Years.
And now here we're getting one at the end of 2025, so another 3 years later after the sequel.
So in
I've
the
heard
5th movie, they're going to be invading Earth.
Yeah, and
we're just going to have like 12-foot tall blue aliens.
That'll be like in 2048.
Right.
We'll bet at this pace.
When they're actually invading. It'll just be a live action shots of the streets.
It's just James Cameron filming an actual alien invasion as Avatar 5.
Oh my God. We're like, dude, this is crazy. And then we're like, why are we in a theater watching this? Or we're being invaded.
I agree with you. We went and saw Avatar The Way of Water when it came out. We actually saw it a couple times in theaters. Taya likes this movie significantly more than I do. I enjoyed it. I told her, I was like, my only hang up from giving it like 5 stars is I didn't leave the theater being like mind blown.
Right.
Whereas with the first one, I left the theater mind blown.
Yeah,
I was like,
think we all did.
I've never seen anything like this.
Right.
This is fucking incredible. It hit all of the story notes I wanted it to hit. It was so awesome.
Right. But again, it goes back to that groundbreaking, like the first one was so groundbreaking for us that we're like, oh my gosh. And then you see the second one, and you're like, it just didn't have that same like initial impact on you.
Quite hit the same highs.
But if you saw that one first, it would have been the same thing as the first one. Oh my God, that was so like and you would have been like,
had I
okay.
not been comparing it to Avatar, I would have been like, this is a 5-star movie. This is a fucking incredible movie.
If it was its own story and not the second chapter of a story, you would have been like, holy shit, this is groundbreaking. This is one of the greatest things ever. But it's just because you're adding it on top that it's just kind of...
Also, one thing I mentioned to Taya, and I have a feeling I know why he did this. He's making those Avatar movies, obviously, the first one's still the highest grossing movie of all time. I think the second one is like in the top 3. He's making these for wide audiences so that kids and adults can all watch this movie and get something out of it and be entertained by it. So I kind of know why he made these decisions, but there were some aspects of the story of the sequel where I kind of would have liked more of like an R-rated James Cameron sci-fi movie aspect where he'd get a little bloodier and more gory and more kind of
maybe with Fire
dark.
and Ash.
Maybe with Fire and Ash we get that because I don't know. There's just it's a little bit too PG'd to me.
Right, like the battle scenes, like cut when you're like, this just got really good.
Yeah, and I told Taya, like, the part that I'm thinking of is like right towards the very end where he has to fight, I guess spoiler alert if you haven't seen Avatar The Way of Water, but the bad guy, the general from the first one who comes back as like a Na'vi being in the second one and he's still kind of hunting Jake Sully down. They have this showdown on this sinking ship, like in the climax of the sequel, and Jake kind of just like chokes him out, but then lets him go. I'm like, I wanted like the R-rated version of that, and I want to see him like cut that dude's fucking jugular and like rip his head off. You know what I mean? Like I want to
know that he's dead and not going to show up in the third one.
It's like, dude, this guy has just chased you down and tried to kill you and your family the entire movie, and you're just gonna like choke him so that he passes out and then kind of like swim away and hope all is good. I don't know. I just kind of wanted him to get a little more gnarly with it, is what I wanted. Which maybe says something about me as a moviegoer that I want like a little more gore and violence in my...
It's just human nature.
Yeah. I want...
Like watching UFC
like the
fights,
revenge of it is like I want
blood.
A little more satisfaction. Like that's why John Wick is so satisfying, is because he's fucking headshotting these dudes.
Right.
Like there's no... I'm going to punch you and knock you out and then just walk away. Like, no, he's killing you.
Right.
Like he's going to kill every
He's not Batman
guy
that doesn't believe in killing.
Right. Exactly. So anyway... Avatar Fire and Ash I'm pretty excited for. We'll see how it goes. I have one more movie on my list, and it seems like you have some that I didn't include, so we'll mention this one. There's a Christmas Day release this year called Marty Supreme. And this is a Timothée Chalamet starring Safdie brother, and it's only one of the Safdie brothers. The Safdie brothers directed Good Time and Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. So now they have kind of split off, and each of them have a movie coming out this year, but they're directing it individually. So they're not doing like a brother directing duo, I guess, anymore. But Marty Supreme stars Timothée Chalamet as based on a true story about a ping pong star. Some United States ping pong star, and it's directed by one of the Safdie brothers. That's all I know about it. But I'm super intrigued by that. I don't know what the fuck that movie's going to look like, but it's a Safdie brother movie, and it's Timothée Chalamet. They're going to do something really interesting with it. Anyway, I'm in. That was all I had on my list. So we clearly have not gotten to some
I have
that you
three.
Okay.
We'll start with one that I have up. It's called Warfare.
Oh,
and
I should have had this on my list. Yeah.
What's his name? It's based on ex-Navy SEAL Ray Mendoza's real-life experiences during the Iraq War.
And partially written by Alex Garland, who was the writer-director of Civil War that just came out this last year. Which
I believe it's an A24 produced. And
it's like just a straight up war movie, like an Iraq warfare.
His
movie.
real life account. I mean, obviously it's not going to be his real life, but they're going to reenact his real life accounts that he went through in the war. And I'm all for it.
There's a trailer for this movie online now. You can go check it out. It's really intense. If you heard us talk about Civil War, if you watched the movie Civil War this last year, the war scenes and the action scenes in that are very reminiscent of basically this movie is going to be all that.
Right.
All
just
war scenes.
Not in the U.S.
Just not in the U.S., right. It's an Afghan war movie, but it looks really harrowing, really intense.
Yeah. So I'm
And again, based on
for this.
some true stuff from a guy who actually lived through this shit, who was writing and directing this.
Well, dude, you know
it
what's
looks fucking incredible.
You know, if he's honest about it, because I was listening to a podcast, and I don't know if he's a Ranger sniper or somebody, but he goes, well, like his first deployment, I believe he said he was over in Iraq. He was like, they were underneath a house, and their sniper was, of course, overlooking them, and they hear like water like falling. Well, the sniper had sniped a pregnant woman who was picking up an AK, and because of the impact of the bullet, it split her open and like dropped the baby.
Jesus.
And he goes,
Christ.
And this is just like a YouTube short. He goes, that's not even the worst that I saw. And I'm like, that's pretty fucking awful. One, that you didn't know that a lady was grabbing an AK right above your head.
Right.
And two, that a sniper did that to where it, one, just more or less hit her so hard that the baby just came out.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, that's just terrifying. So if this movie has any of the real life type gore, dude, we could be in for an extremely dark movie.
Yeah.
But I like war movies.
It looks like a really well done war movie.
Right. I like war movies. I love supporting our veterans, so I think it's going to be a great movie.
It's a contemporary war movie too, because it's you and I like war movies a lot, but a lot of the war movies that are made are like World War II war movies or World War I or Vietnam or whatever. This is a contemporary war movie made with a direct hand of a guy who is a veteran who
lived through this experience.
It looks fucking great. And I'm a huge Alex Garland fan, so the Alex Garland involvement also gets me very excited. He's just an incredible writer and a great director in his own right.
Right.
So I think that team up along with A24, I'm in.
It's going to be such a good
So
movie.
When's the release date of that again?
I don't know. We'll go back and look. This one, though, is in March, and it's called Alto Nights.
I just watched the trailer for this the other day. So,
and you weren't intrigued about a mafia movie?
I was. It just didn't make my list. I think I saw this trailer after I made this list. To be frank,
I'm all in. I don't care if it's just a slow story. I'm all in.
So, do you want to tell people a little bit about what this seems to be about? Because I watched the trailer, but I haven't really read much about it.
It's about, I need to make sure I get the right names. Vito Genovese and Frank Costello, who are both, they run their crime families over in New York. And Genovese had attempted to assassinate Costello, even though he had already retired from, the mob. So it's like their whole story between the two families.
Also,
and I'm stoked.
So if you
also, it's got Robert De Niro and
playing dual roles. He's playing
and Cosmo
mobsters.
Jarvis.
Yeah, and also I believe the writer Nicholas Pileggi is the same author of the book and the screenplays for the movie versions of Goodfellas and Casino, I believe. So longtime Scorsese collaborator, longtime Robert De Niro collaborator.
So
they're getting back together. They're doing another mobster movie. De Niro's playing dual roles. Yeah, I mean, I fucking love mobster.
It's gonna be
movies,
sick.
dude. I'll watch this. So it's called Alto Nights,
Yep,
right?
the Alto Nights.
The Alto Nights, yeah.
By the way, Warfare comes out April 11th.
April 11th.
So March and April for these two.
Okay.
And then the last one was Happy Gilmore 2.
Okay.
Happy Gilmore is one of the greatest sports movies ever made. You got to watch the second one.
Definitely on a much lighter note than Warfare and
Yeah,
the
just
Alto Nights.
just a little bit happier note to end
Yeah,
on there.
yeah.
Happy Gilmore 2. Adam Sandler's coming back from what? That was like in 99 or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to
The
say.
late 90s.
Happy Gilmore's been out a long time.
We're going to get Happy Gilmore 2, which I think that's one of those movies that you're kind of like, it's fine being untouched, but at the same time, it's just a golf movie, and the golf career goes on every single summer.
So the OG, 96.
96.
So
okay.
96 to now 2025.
So almost 30 years, and we're getting the second.
and also...
That's how you do a sequel, though, 30 years later.
Yeah.
Because you let people just enjoy the greatness that Happy Gilmore is for 30 years, and now you're just throwing a second one in, and if it's that bad, people are like, I'll just go back and watch the first one.
And also, I'm just going to say this right now. Just let Adam Sandler do whatever he wants.
Right.
The guy
Although
is-
I will say Adam
the guy's
Sandler
fucking killing
lately
it.
has been not on a comedy run. He's been on like
Yeah, for sure.
a real serious, like
Well, Uncut Gems, definitely super serious.
suspense movie role, and
Just
I
say,
kind of
what-
like it. I like that he can show that he's very
got some
diverse.
acting chops, man. Like Adam Sandler can act.
And then there's like Jack and Jill, and you're like, why? And it's just like, well, Netflix paid me $50 million to do it, and you're like, okay, well,
Well, he does have this. I was going to look at what his recent acting credits were, but he does have this deal with Netflix that he's made within the past few years where they basically gave him like $500 million to make like 5 movies over the course of 8 years or something like that. And
they made
basically
Jack
like
and Jill, and you're like,
basically like every movie that he makes that he's in charge of, he's just like, how about I cast all of my friends?
Right.
We go set the movie in like Hawaii or some tropical fucking dope location, and we just go hang out and shoot a funny movie
for 4 months.
and hang out on set in Hawaii and play pickup basketball for 4 months. It sounds like a fucking great life. It sounds awesome. It's like, hey, me and my family and all of my friends are just gonna go make a funny movie in Hawaii for half the year. Like, okay.
and you all are going to buy into it, and we're
Sounds
all going to
awesome.
buy into it.
So he was in Spaceman last year, which was a Netflix movie, which was like looked a little more serious. I didn't watch it, but it's like him kind of solo, lost in space, and he starts like hallucinating. He's having a
talking to the
conversation
big
with
old
this
spider.
giant spider and
Yeah.
stuff. Looked pretty weird. I think the spider put me off of that. I was like, no, thank you.
Giant space spider? I'm good.
Giant space spider? Nah, I'm all set. In 2023, he was in You Are So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah. And then he was in Murder Mystery 2, Hustle, which was pretty good. Did you ever
Hustle
watch
was
Hustle?
good, yeah.
I liked Hustle. He was in Hubie Halloween, which I heard was terrible in 2020. Let's see. Uncut Gems in 2019. Really good performance by him. Super stressful movie to watch. Murder Mystery 1 was in 2019. He's in the Hotel Transylvania movies. He voices Dracula.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the guy could do whatever he wants. The Mayorowitz Stories was another dramatic movie for him. I haven't seen that one. So he basically kind of like takes turns between doing like 3 or 4 silly comedy movies that he's basically in charge of writing and directing, and then he'll do like a serious movie here or there.
Right.
And he's like, oh, by the way, I can also act. Like,
Yeah, he's earned that right.
Yeah.
He's done such a good job.
he's got a fucking great career. He's carved out a great lane
Right.
for himself.
and I don't think
Jack
like
and Jill in 2011 has a 3.3 out of
Dude,
10
have
on
you-
IMDb.
have you ever seen it?
I've never seen it.
dude, don't. I mean, if you really want to be disappointed, like watch it and be like, that was the stupidest thing I've
Well,
ever
that's like a
seen.
historically bad rating on
Yeah.
IMDb. Like 3.3 out of 10. Good Lord.
Yeah, that's failing.
You know what's a movie that I thoroughly enjoyed that he made is Just Go With It in 2011 with Jennifer Aniston.
That was a good one
Really enjoyed that movie.
because Jennifer Aniston's in it.
Well, yeah. I mean, that doesn't hurt. Grown Ups is good.
Grown Ups is good. Yeah,
I haven't seen any of the Grown Ups sequels. Didn't they make one or at least 2
Grown
of
Up.
those?
I think it. I mean, I know they made Grown Ups 2.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
don't know
seen
if there's
the
a Grown
sequel.
Ups 3, but
You Don't Mess with the Zohan is so stupid,
such
but
a stupid, but
so funny.
so funny.
I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry.
That's a great movie.
Click is a great movie.
That's
kind
such
of
a
a dark
depressing
movie. Though.
movie.
That's a depressing movie.
You go through the whole thing and then you realize at the very end, you're like, man, you guys had me laughing all the time, and now I'm just depressed.
The Longest Yard, really enjoyed.
Iconic.
50 First Dates. Anger Management is great.
Billy Madison.
Eight Crazy Nights, Mr.
Crazy
Deeds,
Nights, Mr. Deeds,
Punch Drunk Love, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson,
The
is
Wedding
another
Singer.
dramatic performance by him that's really good. Little Nicky,
Dude, that is one of the most insane movies.
Big Daddy, The Water Boy, The Wedding Singer, man,
Yeah.
Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison.
Dude, some of his first roles with like
Dude, listen to this run from 95 to like, where should we go to here? I'll just rattle some of these off. Because this is like when he starts to really blow up. 95, Billy Madison.
Yep.
96, Happy Gilmore.
Yep.
98, The Wedding Singer.
Yep.
98, The Water Boy. 99, Big Daddy. Jesus, dude. Like that mid to late 90s run is just fire. It's
So
just,
now you can only pick one Adam Sandler movie to rewatch
ooh,
ever. Like that's the only Adam Sandler movie you ever get to rewatch. What are you picking?
that's a tough question. Ooh, man.
Luna's all angry because she got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
So do you want to do like you got to decide like do you want to do like slapstick Adam Sandler? Do you want to do serious Adam Sandler?
Right, just whatever you think is
Heartwarming Adam Sandler?
Because I'm not gonna lie, Billy Madison might just take the cake.
I really liked Big Daddy.
Big Daddy was great. It was a great story too.
But
But Waterboy's also iconic. I mean, there's just
I really liked Anger Management a lot. I thought that movie. I liked Longest Yard a lot. The Zohan. It's so fucking stupid, but so funny. Just Go With It. I really enjoyed. I like that movie a lot. I don't know.
Did you ever
That's
watch
a tough
Blended?
fucking question. I never watched Blended.
that was like one of Megan's favorite movies. We
Really?
watched it like a million
With
times.
Drew Barrymore
Yeah.
in 2014. Yeah. Did you ever see Pixels?
No, that looks so dumb.
That looked pretty bad. There's quite a few on here that got really rough ratings. Like his Netflix foray of the ones that like he made exclusively for Netflix.
But quit dodging the question. I need an answer.
Okay. All right, fuck. You're going to force me into this, huh?
Yeah, Luna's going to be 15 by the time you answer.
I'm going to say fuck, man. This is a tough question. I think it's between Just Go With It and a movie like Big Daddy, I think.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to pick one from like two different eras of Sandler.
I think I would probably have to
early
go
comedy like Heater Sandler or like later.
Right.
I don't know. It's probably between those two. I also
If I
really like
really
Anger
gotta
Management.
like stick to one, I think Happy Gilmore, just because I love golf, and that's just such an. I mean, you got to think that golf swing is tested and tried every day on a golf course somewhere in the world.
Oh yeah. I also think Happy Gilmore might be. It's like when eventually Adam Sandler's obituary is written, one of the like Mount Rushmore movies that they list after his name, Happy Gilmore is going to be one of the like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be one of his legacy movies. Is Happy
100%.
Gilmore. Yeah, it seems
And
to
the
be,
Waterboy, honestly.
and the Waterboy. I think those two have like real lasting impact on people and like have made a
No,
really
Mama,
lasting impression
no.
in the zeitgeist. I think those two are going to be talked about for a long time.
Well, Mama's wrong again.
I mean, I wanted to like think about a movie like Uncut Gems, but because he's really good in that movie.
But it's just not an Adam Sandler movie.
It's just not an Adam Sandler. It's not the way you typically think about Adam Sandler. And plus, I'm not in a big hurry to rewatch that movie. That movie gives me so much fucking anxiety to watch. Have you seen Uncut Gems?
It's been I think I watched it the year it came out.
Jesus.
And I
You need to
haven't
like
watched it
take a
since.
Xanax before you watch that movie. It's so fucking stressful to watch.
Right.
Also, if you don't watch it with your sports gambling, you could end up like him in that fucking movie. Fucking going around town selling jewelry to pay for parlays on Celtics games.
I would never bet on the Celtics. Fuck
Well,
the Celtics.
Nuggets games then.
I would never bet on the Nuggets. All I'm gonna do, betting advice, is bet heavily on the Chiefs, because then I'm guaranteed to lose, and that means the Chiefs will lose.
Which is a good thing for everybody.
So I'll just take the hit world, and I'll bet heavy on the Eagles as well. So we'll get a Bills Commanders Super Bowl. I keep talking shit to Brandon. I'm like, dude, the Eagles suck. Like if Saquon goes in, he's like, dude, we're not going to lose because of Manners. And he's like, why's your hate with the Eagles? He's like, because I just love seeing my friends in pain. And I was like, I don't want to see you happy. I don't want to see the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
I don't want to see you happy. That's fine.
But I want to see you happy, but not in the NFL football sense.
Not in the NFL fandom sense.
I want your Eagles to lose and then remind you that you also lost and you have the Sacco.
All right. Before we go off on a tangent about the NFL, if you were to pick one movie that you're most excited about that we just talked about, what would you pick?
Honestly, I think The Amateur is going to be one of those like sleeper movies of the year. And I kind of am looking forward to Warfare.
Yeah.
So kind of like two off the radar movies, I guess you could say. Definitely like those two, and then I think A Working Man is just going to be a blast.
Okay.
So yeah,
I think, and it's again, some of these are hard to tell until you see a trailer because there's trailers for some of these, but a lot of them there isn't. Based on trailers and just based on what I know about these, I think the two that really stick out that I'm like really excited about that I have high hopes for, Sinners and 28 Years Later. If those movies aren't awesome, I'm going to be super bummed out.
he's going to be pissed.
I'm going to be bummed out. And obviously, like The Accountant 2, if that's not awesome, I'm going to be bummed out.
I mean, everything on this list I want
good,
to be good. If these 12 movies are good, I think it'll be a good year for movies.
Yeah. So, anyway, with that being said, that is our 2025 sort of hype meter for 2025 movie releases. That's our most anticipated. Hopefully you enjoyed this conversation.
Yes.
Again, starting in 2025 with our last episode and with the episodes coming up in the future, we're streaming these live on YouTube. We're going to try to do our best to get the info about these out on all of the various places that we exist as a podcast on the interwebs. So we'll make sure to post links to the YouTube, like on Instagram, Facebook. If you go to the Podbean page, obviously, that's kind of like that'll be your one-stop shop to find a lot of this stuff.
And if you go follow us or subscribe to us on YouTube,
right,
and you set your notifications, you'll get a notification every time we go live. And then you don't have to necessarily listen to the podcast. You can just listen as we record.
Exactly. So we would love the support. If you're listening to this, thanks for checking it out. We appreciate all the listeners. But if you're new, tune into the stream. Check us out. Keep supporting. We got some fun conversations planned. I know we mentioned these a little bit at the end of our last episode about the 2024 movies, but we're gonna do some fun kind of silly conspiracy theory episodes about.
We might need to do the
dragons
dinosaurs.
and dinosaurs.
Yeah, we should do that drunk.
That's not a bad idea.
That would be just because it would be 100% just
bullshit.
Bullshit, and it would be the most fun.
I'm not opposed to drinking and talking about.
Yeah, we can find like a Friday night or a Saturday night and do that.
Yeah, have to Uber home afterwards.
Yeah, 100%.
So anyway, we have that to look forward to. Another thing that Matt and I talked about that will be done on another future episode. You're gonna have to give us a couple months. We're gonna do a Lord of the Rings episode.
Yes.
I'm currently in the middle of reading the books. I'm almost done with the Two Towers, so I'm gonna read the books. Me and Taya are going to rewatch the movies. We're going to do a Lord of the Rings episode because that is a property that Matt and I are both huge fans of, and we've never done an episode on that, so we're going to do that. So if you're a Tolkien head, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, stay tuned for that. That's going to be exciting. So yeah, we got some conspiracy theory episodes, Lord of the Rings planned. We'll probably touch base on right before the Super Bowl on NFL stuff, little Super Bowl preview,
we
imagine.
could probably do that next weekend.
Yeah.
That'll be roughly a week before the Super, or next week, because that'll roughly be a Super Bowl.
We're recording this one on Friday the 24th, and on Sunday we have the AFC and NFC championship games coming up. So we'll know after this weekend who is in the Super Bowl, so we can do a little Super Bowl preview episode. Maybe on that one, recap the national championship game as well that happened last Monday. Yeah, so we got some stuff coming up.
We have some things planned.
Episodes. Yeah.
So yeah, just stay tuned. Like we said, go follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
And we'd love to, if you end up joining these live streams or if you just go visit the YouTube page, we'd love to hear from you.
Right.
We'd also love to get emails. The Gmail information is posted on the Facebook page, on the Podbean page. Send us an email. Let Well, let us know what you think about these episodes. If you have ideas for future episodes, if you have input on stuff we missed or things you want to make fun of us for, whatever, we'd love to hear from you. I'm sure we'll be
There's no such thing as bad criticism.
I'm sure we'll be back again at some point with another Just Brackets episode about something at some point.
March is just around the corner.
That's true. We'll do a March Madness episode. So, yeah, lots to come. We're excited about 2025. We appreciate all you guys.
We could do like we could either do NFL or NCAA, or we could do both, but champions of the last like 20 years.
Oh,
or like now that we have our 2024 champion, we could do the last 24 champions in a bracket
for like college football champions.
Yeah,
like those teams, those championship
right, like
winning teams.
Whoever won the national championship that year, we put a bracket together.
That is an interesting discussion of like what are the toughest or like the best national championship winning teams of the last X amount of years. Because like the ones that pop into your head, like are those like when you really start stacking it out, are they
like the 2019 LSU Tigers?
That's the first one that came to my mind. It's like, yeah,
you could just run through a bracket and
you know.
So I mean that'd be a fun idea.
Yeah,
of a Just Brackets podcast.
That. Just Brackets, always sneaking out of nowhere with a Just Brackets episode. Yeah.
But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back probably within the week or so with another episode, and we're gonna try and pump out as much content this year as we can, and hopefully we'll be back within a week or so.
Yeah, and looking forward to all these new 2025 movie releases. So hopefully we have a good movie year. I know the whole mantra.
I mean, we said 2024 was going to be a bad year, and it ended up being a pretty good year.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the movies last year. I liked the releases. So there's definitely a much fuller release schedule this year than there was last year. So I'm encouraged about that. We haven't really, I mean, I guess we could have done that on the 2024 episode, but we haven't really had like an Oscars conversation. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but I don't know if that's really our lane here. And you don't really give a shit about the Oscars.
No, I could care less.
Yeah, okay. All right.
We could do an NHL podcast because the Avalanche just traded Mikko Rantanen, who is one of their big three.
Oh, Mikko Rantanen, yeah, big fan.
He's asking for $15 million a year. Wasn't going to happen.
I love that NHL salaries are like so low compared to NBA and NFL.
It's because they just love to play the game.
It's for the love of the game, man.
You know what's funny though? Real quick tangent. It needs to be recorded.
Oh, okay.
The NBA, they're like, oh, I need a rest. My leg hurts. And then they play 82 games just like the NHL. Have you ever watched an NHL game? Those dudes are beating the shit out of it. It's arguably the most physical sport. And people are like, well, football's more physical. I'm like, well, but think about it though. If you're the Broncos in the playoffs, the defense is on the field for 41 minutes. The offense is only out there for 18 minutes. These guys are playing a full 60 minutes, fully hitting each other, getting hit by 100-mile-per-hour frozen piece of rubber.
And they do it 82 times a year.
And they do it 82 times a year, sometimes back-to-back nights. Most other times it's one night in between. I'm like, these guys do the same shit. They get paid way less. And if they cramp, they go on this bench, shake off their leg, pull their teeth out real quick, hand it to the trainer, and go back out there. An NBA player cramps, and they're out for 3 months. Okay, I got to stop.
Yeah,
don't
start on that.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back, like I said, within a week. Go to the YouTube page, subscribe so you can see when we go live if you want to join. If not, just keep an eye out for when we post these episodes. But thanks, everybody.
Till next time. Thanks for joining in.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Oh, my gosh. Later, stream.